23 Spine-chilling tales of the sinister. Discover the haunted secrets revealed by rainy nights. The storm bellowed like a beast unleashed, wrestling the power lines that stood like frail sentinels against the fury of the night. In Oakwood, where every rain-soaked road held whispered secrets, Lisa barely caught her breath as she kissed Rosie goodnight. She was bone-tired, 34 years old and running on fumes, but tonight was different. A chill crept through the air when Rosie chirped, "Mommy, I've got a new friend. His name's Mr. Green, and he says we need to be careful." What kind of friend was this? Lisa brushed it off, steeling herself for another grueling shift at the diner. The rain quickly escalated from rhythmic patter to a menacing beat, each drop like a drum signaling an approach of something ominous. With each clap of thunder, the shadows outside twisted and danced. The familiar warmth of home began to feel like a prison as Lisa's gut tightened. She glanced out the window, the wind roaring like a wild animal. Shadows scraped against the frosted glass, and the shrill squeak of house settling sent her heart racing. "It's just the storm," she whispered, but the echo of her own voice felt hollow. Would anyone hear her if she needed help? Then came the flickering light. The house almost seemed to be breathing. "Mr. Green says the bad man wants to come inside," Rosie giggled nervously, but the laugh sent an icy shiver down Lisa's spine. Panic spread through her veins and, suddenly, the evening's comfort turned sour. Hadn't she heard the stories? The dark past of Oakwood, where some sins were buried but never forgotten. Before she could make sense of it all, the power stooped, plunging them into an abyssal darkness. The room smelled damp, earthy, but something else lurked inside that scent, something foul and sinister. "He's scared, Mommy. We have to listen." Rosie's voice cut through like glass shattering in the silence, and Lisa's heart dropped. Every booming clap outside seemed to mock her disbelief. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the suffocating silence that followed, Lisa's instincts kicked in. She knew she had to check the front door. Had she locked it? She felt the hairs on her neck rise, an involuntary shiver racing down her spine. Rushing towards the entrance, mind racing, she glimpsed the glint of wet pavement through the window. The door, slightly ajar, beckoned danger. Footsteps echoed only in her imagination. Terror painted her the color of ash. The tales of betrayal that echoed through this town returned to her like a chorus of nightmarish reminders. It wasn't just the storm battering walls, it was something more insidious, lurking, waiting. "Mommy, Mr. Green says he's already here," Rosie whispered softly, her eyes wide and innocent yet aware of something far more malignant stirring on the fringes of their minds. The laughter of the storm grew louder, blending with the ominous words reverberating in Lisa's ears. What twisted nightmare lay in waiting, and how long before it would come crashing through that door? Lisa's heart hammered in her chest, every beat reverberating against the walls of her mind. She held her breath, straining to listen as another clap of thunder shook the house. Each crack echoed louder, a warning, a proclamation. "Mommy! We have to hide." Rosie's voice snapped her back to reality. It was a shrill whisper, laced with terror. Lisa had just shared a loving moment with her daughter, but now it felt like a distant memory. She grabbed Rosie's small hand and pulled her gently towards the living room, the flickering candlelight casting shifting shadows across the walls. They could hide under the table, the one sturdy piece of furniture left in their fragile dominion of safety. The storm battered the windows, and Lisa felt the icy terror coiling around her spine. "Stay quiet," she whispered urgently, guiding Rosie under the table. Their world shrunk to a cramped space surrounded by silence, save for the relentless roar outside. They could hear the rain pounding like 1,000 fists against the roof, but another sound began to seep in, a low, guttural growl that clawed at the edges of Lisa's consciousness. It felt wrong, unnatural. She had never heard anything like it in her life. "Mr. Green is afraid," Rosie murmured, hidden in the darkness. "He says the bad man is whispering." Lisa's palms felt damp as she pressed them against her own mouth to suppress a gasp. "It's okay, sweetie," she forced out, her throat tightening. "We'll be all right." But she wasn't sure they would. The growling continued, drawing closer, punctuated by a ragged breath that seemed to invade their space. Her instincts screamed for her to leave, to run, but the heavy weight of fear pinned her to the floor. The wind howled like a wailing beast outside, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting, watching. "Mommy, what's that?" Rosie's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Lisa felt her daughter's tiny body shiver beside her, the warmth of childhood suddenly cold with fear. "You stay right here," Lisa insisted, trying to keep her voice steady. She edged forward slightly, risking a glance outside the table's threadbare cloth. Through the crack, she saw movement. Dark shapes danced in the rain, but none more prominent than the shadow creeping closer to their door. A tall outline, slumped and distorted, seemed to morph with each flicker of lightning. "Mr. Green says it's too late," Rosie mumbled, as if she were in a trance. "He's already inside." A chill ripped through Lisa, a visceral sensation that clawed at her insides. The door creaked, its ominous groan swallowed by the storm's wrath. A surge of adrenaline jolted through her, and she grabbed Rosie tightly, looking into those trusting eyes, filled with innocent terror. The growling intensified, an echo of menace and desperation. This was no ordinary storm. It carried voices, whispered secrets, promises of dread. "Mommy!" Before she could even comprehend Rosie's call, the lights flickered back on for a brief, blinding moment, illuminating their faces in stark relief. And as the glow returned, Lisa felt her breath catch in her throat. A figure stood just inside the door, its hollow gaze locked onto them, eyes glinting like shards of glass. The power blinked again, plunging them into darkness once more. Heart racing, Lisa barely contained a scream. What had she unleashed by failing to listen? And then a sudden crash, something heavy hitting the floor. The silence that followed was deafening. Was it the bad man? Or something much worse? A voice that she didn't recognize slithered through the dark, chilling her soul. "You shouldn't have ignored me," Lisa's heart raced. Her mind reeled with horror. Something unearthly awaited just outside their tiny shelter, ready to drag them into its embrace. What awaited them beyond? And might it already be too late to escape? The darkness wrapped around them like a heavy shroud. Lisa's heart thudded in her ears, drowning out the crashing storm. She felt Rosie clench her fingers, the little girl's warmth a fragile lifeline in the icy grip of fear. "Mommy!" Rosie's voice was barely a breath, a silent plea for reassurance. "Stay quiet," Lisa hissed, her heart racing. She tugged Rosie closer, her own thoughts spiraling. What was out there? Who was the voice? Another crash resonated through the house. The sound was heavy, like something unnatural was rolling through their once safe haven. With each sound, shadows flitted closer, melded with the pitch black, merging with fear itself. "Maybe we should move?" Lisa whispered, desperation crawling up her spine. But where could they go? Each flicker of the candle threatened to snuff out their last bit of light. In that suffocating silence, the growling morphed into a rasp, a chorus of whispers. "Lisa!" It swirled around her, tightening like a noose. "Don't listen!" Lisa commanded, squeezing Rosie's hand as if her grip could shield her from the looming dread. She risked another glance, hoping for some sign of safety, something tangible to hold onto amidst the horror. But the figure was gone. A trick of the mind? Or had it simply melted into the shadows? Yet the air felt thick, charged, as if a storm of malevolent intent was brewing right in front of her. "Mr. Green said he's a keeper," Rosie murmured, as if dreaming. "He keeps us safe." "No," Lisa snapped, her voice snapping like a taut wire. "He won't keep us safe." We have to." The door rattled violently, caught in the throes of the storm, shaking the house to its core. It felt as if whatever lurked outside was clawing at it, desperate for entry. An image flashed in her mind, a hand ripping through the splintered wood, dragging them both into the darkness. "Mommy, he's here!" Rosie screamed, the terror snapping through her like a whip. The growling returned, lower, throaty, and more menacing, filling every corner of the room until it vibrated against Lisa's bones. She pressed her hands tight against her ears, trying to block it out, but it found its way inside, the whispers becoming louder, demanding. "Open the door, Lisa." "We're waiting." In that moment, she felt a compulsion, a dark thought creeping forward. What if the figure really was a keeper? What if there was a way out of this? No. She shook her head violently, banishing the thought. She couldn't think like that. She had to protect Rosie. Stay low. But another crash echoed through their fragile hope, closer now, right outside the door. She instinctively pulled Rosie closer, her breath quickening as she struggled to maintain sanity in a world spiraling into madness. Suddenly, a voice seeped through the cracks, warm and familiar. "Lisa? Rosie? Is that you?" Lisa's heart jumped. Was it real? "Mommy!" Rosie cried, pulling away from Lisa, eyes wide with hope, breaking their fragile barrier of safety in her eagerness. "Wait!" Lisa shouted, panic seizing her. "Don't! It's not safe." But it was too late. The candle flickered perilously low, shadows swirling evil as the voice called again, sweeter this time, thick with promise. "Come to me, my loves, I'm here." Was it the storm playing tricks? Or a deeper, darker power trying to lure them out of hiding? The final breath of the candle faded into darkness, and with it, time ceased to matter. What awaited them in that moment of desperation? Would they escape, or would they open the door to their worst nightmare? The darkness pressed in tighter, suffocating any remnants of hope. The air was thick, heavy with the oppressive weight of fear. Lisa could see Rosie's tiny form quivering, eyes wide with naive expectation, searching the shadows for the familiar shape of comfort. "Mommy?" Rosie's voice trembled, pulling at Lisa's heart. For a second, Lisa wanted nothing more than to reassure her daughter, to tell her everything would be fine. But deep down, a primal instinct screamed to keep them hidden, to stay still and silent. The voice outside whispered again, seducing and sweet, wrapping around them like a serpent. "Open the door, my loves, I've come for you." As if slashing through the darkness, the candle's final flicker widened their shadows into grotesque shapes, dancing along the walls. Lisa's grip went tighter, nails digging into Rosie's small hand as she shook her head. "No. Stay here." The words clawed out of her throat like a warning. There was a pause, an unbearable silence that stretched between them, then another violent rattle echoed through the door, making them jump. Lisa squeezed her eyes shut. The door shuddered, wood gnashing against the frame, flesh against bone. And in that fleeting moment, hope turned to dread as the gentle whispers warped into a low, rumbling growl. A low voice sighed, pulling at the edges of her mind. "Just a little bit of trust, Lisa, after all, I am your keeper." The growling morphed again into the sound of nails scratching against the surface, an animalistic persistence that sent chills down her spine. She stood on the edge of panic, longing to scream, to shout for help that would never come. The storm outside offered no comfort, it only howled in agreement with the chaos within her. "Mommy!" Rosie whimpered, her small hands now tugging at Lisa's shirt. The innocent plea carried a weight of tragedy. It broke Lisa's resolve. She could feel the ground of courage under her feet eroding with every guttural breath. "Do you want to see him?" The voice cooed again, the warmth still steeped in poison. I can keep you safe together, we can make the darkness our home. No. No. Lisa's voice pierced through the thick air. She'd heard stories about the keeper. His promises always came with high price tags that shattered lives and consumed souls. But was it too late? Wasn't darkness an easier path than this? The door shuddered again, this time producing an echo that seemed to linger in her bones, harmonizing with the echoes of her fears. An image flashed before her, a surreal vision of them outside, beyond the storm, beyond the earth, even above the terror that wrapped around them. "Mommy, I want to see him." Rosie's voice, sweet and coaxing, filled the room with an innocence that twisted inside Lisa. The line between protecting her child and relinquishing freedom grew more fragile, like a spider's silk slipping from trust. No. Lisa didn't hesitate this time. She pressed her palms against Rosie's cheeks, forcing her daughter to meet her gaze. "We can't trust him. We have to stay." But as the words left her lips, a familiar shadow flickered by the window, a fleeting specter of a face she knew all too well. The storm outside paused, and a chilling cold swept into the room, a promise of the impossible. The door buckled under another, stronger push. And with it, the whispers filled the void, promising, "Lisa, I'm here. It's time to come home." The shadows twisted, bulging with life, hunger, and promise. It was time for Lisa to decide. Would they open the door and embrace the darkness, or would they find a way to resist? The growling intensified, merging with the storm, the suspense more electric than ever. What lay beyond? Could they truly turn their backs on the keeper, or would the darkness swallow them whole? Just as the door splintered, a single word echoed clearly in her mind: run. The word ricocheted in Lisa's mind, her heart racing faster than ever. Run. It was a command laced with desperation, yet every fiber of her being clenched at the thought of abandoning the safety of their hiding spot. The door screamed against the force, shards of wood exploding around the frame like shrapnel. "Mommy, I'm scared." Rosie's voice was a tender cry, vulnerable and small. Lisa couldn't bear it. Instinct kicked in. "Hold on to me tight," she shouted, gathering the last remnants of her courage. She yanked Rosie close, her body shielding her daughter as they tumbled towards the back of the room. The growling morphed into a roar, the voice outside dragging them into its sinister embrace. "You can't run from me, sweet Lisa. You and that child belong to me." Rushing to a window, Lisa scanned the stormy landscape beyond the glass, lightning illuminating flashes of the trees outside, wild and thrashing under the fury of the wind. The keeper was not just a voice. He knew them, could reach them. She felt it in her bones. "Mommy, it's him." Rosie gasped, squirming in fear, pointing toward the door as it splintered violently open. The fragments flew like freezing darts into the darkness, leaving only the void, a vacuum that seemed to inhale all warmth and light. "Go!" Lisa threw herself toward the window, adrenaline flickering through every vein. She pushed her weight against the old frame, praying it would yield. With a surge of strength, the window creaked open, allowing cold air to pour in, mingling with the oppressive dread in the room. "Mommy, no. What if he catches us?" Rosie pleaded, clinging to her mother's shirt with a grip that took hold of Lisa's heart. "We'll never know unless we try." The words fell out like a mantra, offering a kind of hope she desperately needed. Outside, the storm surged, claps of thunder rumbling like an angry beast. But the darkness inside was worse. Just as Lisa leaned out, the keeper's voice thundered, shaking the walls. "You're too late, my dear. You can't outrun what lives within you." Shivers coursed through her. Each word beckoned with a false sense of familiarity, as if hidden memories clawed to the surface. The shadows in the room crept closer, curling like fingers eager to snatch them. "Mommy. Please." Rosie's desperation cracked through the tension. With a primal grunt, Lisa hoisted her daughter onto her hip and jumped through the open window, tumbling into the wild embrace of the storm. The cold rain battered down around them, each drop a biting reminder of where they had escaped from. They landed in a tangle of mud and roots, the ground sucking them in like a swamp. "Run, Rosie! We need to move!" Lisa cried as fear flooded her limbs. They stumbled into the woods, an all-encompassing darkness swallowing them, visibility reduced to mere shapes lurking in the shadows. Behind them, the sound of shattered wood echoed, followed by a low roar of anger. The air thickened with the scent of earth and rain, but it was tainted, marked with something ancient and savage. Rosie coughed, dragging in the damp air. "Mommy, where are we going?" "I don't know, but we can't stop." Lisa pushed forward, desperation giving her strength. The trees towered above them, branches clawing like skeletal hands, and the shadows whispered around them, a chorus of discontent. And then, just ahead, flickers of light cut through the darkness, the warm glow of a distant house. Hope surged. But could she trust it? Was it another lure from the keeper? The growl came again, louder, angrier, as if the very woods were alive trying to drag them back. "You can't hide from me, Lisa. I will always find you with every step." Dread thickened in her throat. As they neared the light, a sickening question bubbled to the surface: what awaited them inside? Could a sanctuary live within the dance of shadows, or would the keeper's grasp tighten before they reached the safety of its flickering glow? The path slushed beneath their feet, each step feeling as though they were moving through thick, viscous air. Lisa kept her focus ahead on the glowing refuge. It pulsed like a heartbeat through the surrounding dimness, drawing her in. Yet, as they stumbled closer, the growls cascaded around them, a haunting reminder of the looming terror. "Mommy, I see it," Rosie whispered, her voice a thin thread of hope layered with fear. The house glimmered like a mirage, flickering in and out as the storm whipped around them, rain drumming heavily against the leaves. Lisa gritted her teeth, every instinct telling her to turn back, to hide in the wild instead of confronting whatever waited inside those walls. The growl morphed to a snarl, feral and hungry. "You think a little light can save you? I'm everywhere, Lisa. I'm in your shadows." They barreled through the underbrush, branches clawing at their clothes, snagging at their skin. "Keep going, baby, just a little further," Lisa urged, her heart thundering in time with the growls that echoed from behind. The timbre of the keeper's voice chilled her, sending icy tendrils creeping down her spine. As they approached the porch, Rosie came to a sudden halt, paralyzed by fear. What if he's inside? What if it's a trap? Lisa's fingers tightened on Rosie's arm, fire and cold fighting within her. "We have to take the chance. If it is a trap, maybe we can outsmart him. Together." She hoped with every ounce of her being it wasn't the wrong choice as they scrambled up the weathered steps. Reaching the door, Lisa hesitated. The wear of time clung to the surface, its dull hinges whispering secrets of neglect. She sucked in a breath, scanning the edges of their surroundings. Simply stepping inside felt perilous, like crossing into another realm. The growl was a stark reminder of their peril, echoing from beyond the trees. "This is your last chance, Lisa." "Mommy, I don't want to do this," Rosie whimpered, her voice trembling. Lisa knelt down, bringing them face to face. "Listen to me. We'll be okay. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together. Always." Strength coiled within her, though uncertainty clung like a damp cloak. There was no time left. The growl rang out again, closer this time. "I'm coming, my sweet Lisa. Don't hide." With a fierce resolve, Lisa turned the knob and shoved the door open. It swung wide, creaking eerily like a call from the past, as a musty smell enveloped them. Shadows danced ominously at the corners of the candlelit space. Time and space seemed to warp, and Lisa felt a pull, as if unseen hands beckoned them forward. "Stay close," she warned Rosie, stepping cautiously inside. The light barely illuminated a cracked mirror and faded photographs lining the walls, faces smiling with frozen glee. But the air felt thick, secrets lingered, clawing at Lisa's memory like the keeper's claws. "Mommy?" Rosie's whisper broke through the silence, an innocent plea that sent shivers through Lisa. "What is this place?" "I don't know." Lisa's voice trailed off as the door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. Panic welled within her. "We need to find another way out." Loosening her grip on Rosie, she turned and scanned the dimly lit room. Suddenly, an icy wind blew through the space, snatching the candle flames and plunging them into darkness. "Foolish girl," the keeper's voice slithered through the gloom. "You're just where I want you to be." Lisa's breath hitched, and the darkness wrapped around her tighter. Fear clawed at her throat as shadows flickered and shifted, coalescing around them. There was nowhere to go, no escape from the darkness crawling closer. "Mommy! What are we going to do?" Rosie's voice was laced with terror. Lisa's mind raced, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. What waited in the shadows? Could they truly outsmart the keeper? With a heart full of dread, she whispered to Rosie, "We fight together." Just as the shadows began to converge, a piercing scream erupted from within the house, a cacophony of anguish that shattered the stifling darkness. Who could that be? Rosie gasped, fear seeping into her words. The scream echoed, followed by eerie silence. Something was hunting them within these walls. Lisa's heart raced. They couldn't stay. But could they trust the light that flickered somewhere deeper in the shadows? The answer hung in the air like a thick fog, heavy with dread. What followed would test their will for survival. Lisa felt the floorboards creak beneath her shaky legs, a warning cry laced with age. The dim candlelight flickered, a stuttering heartbeat in the oppressive gloom. It felt as if the walls were breathing, alive with unseen eyes that watched their every move. "Mommy," the scream, "what if it's someone who needs help?" Rosie's eyes glistened, but the tremor in her voice spoke of fear overtaking bravery. "No. We can't." Lisa knelt, staring deep into her daughter's frightened gaze, wishing she could shield Rosie from all the darkness surrounding them. "It could be a trap. We have to stay close." The flickering candlelight seemed to shudder at her words. They had to make a choice, explore the unsettling house or remain lost in the dark that loomed just outside the illuminated space. "Mommy." Rosie's whisper was barely audible over the cacophony of silence that pressed against them, thick and suffocating. Sparks of desperation ignited inside Lisa. "We need to find that light. It has to lead us to safety." She turned. In the depth of the shadowed room, a faint glow pulsed like a dying ember, beckoning them further into the house. With an iron grip on Rosie's hand, she led the way, their footsteps soft against the wood, a whispered promise against the growing vibrance of dread. Each step felt like a confession to the skins of the walls, secrets skimmed over by fingers long gone. As they moved, the persistent growl of the keeper echoed in her ears, taunting them like a sinister lullaby. "You think you can escape my grasp? Come and find me, sweet Lisa." Every growl seeped into the marrow of her bones, chilling her. What kind of monster was this, to play with their fears? Together they shuffled deeper until they came to a room filled with old toys and forgotten laughter. The sunlight hadn't kissed this place in years, dust coated everything like a shroud. A child's laughter rang out, delightful yet unsettling. The sound haunted the air, a reminder of lives stolen away. "Mommy, what's happening?" Rosie clung tighter, fear etching lines into her soft features. "You must stay quiet," Lisa whispered, a frantic urgency threading through her words. Suddenly, the laughter turned into a series of sharp, manic chuckles, echoing off the walls. Lisa's skin prickled as she felt the air thicken like fog, suffocating and heavy. In the room's corner, shadows twisted and writhed, forming silhouettes. As they undulated, Lisa's breath hitched. The shapes resembled small, twisted figures, almost human but not quite. They danced and capered, dragging their fingers along the floor, leaving streaks of darkness behind. A voice whispered from the depths of the darkness, "Come play, Lisa. Don't you want to join us?" Lisa swallowed hard, shaking her head. "Please. We can't. We need to leave." And just as that cry slipped from her lips, the shadows lunged, forming a heavy wall that trapped them. Panic clawed at her chest, she felt it tightening like a vice. "Mommy!" Rosie screamed, her voice torn from her, pure and urgent. "Fight! Hold on to me!" Lisa barked, yanking her daughter through the room as broken echoes filled the air, growing into a cacophony of laughter and cries, as if the walls themselves were mocking their fear. They stumbled backward, skidding across the dusty floor, desperately searching for an escape. The doorway loomed behind them, a dark mouth hungry for more lost souls. The tether of light now flickered wildly, barely holding on as they fought against the tide of darkness pushing in. With one last surge of determination, Lisa dashed toward the light, propelled by Rosie's terrified grasp. They were almost there, the warmth inching closer, when a cold wind swept through the room. The Keeper's image materialized before them, a glimmer in the expanse of shadows, eyes glinting with torment. "Did you think you could leave? I will always be here, waiting." Time froze. The Keeper's smile widened, and with each heartbeat, shadows rose around them like tidal waves. Lisa and Rosie were engulfed, trapped within the suffocating embrace of fear. In that moment, a realization pierced through the darkness. They would have to confront not just the Keeper, but all the fears lurking in their minds. What they did next would echo through every warped corner of this cursed house. And just as the shadows closed in, a new scream, the same cry that shattered the darkness earlier, erupted once more, but this time the sound filled with rage rather than fear. What or who had awakened the wrath of this haunted home? In the heart of it all, they stood on the brink of revelations yet to unfold. As pulses of light danced erratically, the only thing Lisa knew for certain was this: they had to find a path out or risk losing everything. But time was running out. What awaited beyond the threshold of that door? The shadows pressed in, a suffocating weight as Lisa and Rosie clung to each other. The frantic pulse of light was an illusion, flickering on the edge of reality, just out of reach. Panic clawed at Lisa's throat as they were surrounded, the Keeper's laughter swirling like smoke, filled with malice. "Rosie, we need to," Lisa began, but the words were torn from her as the Keeper's icy fingers touched her shoulder. She spun around, trying to shake off the grip of fear, but there was no escape. The laughing shadows danced closer, their forms shifting from grotesque caricatures to familiar faces distorted by despair. "Face your fears." The Keeper growled, still smiling, a nightmarish glee lighting its eyes. "You will feed my game or become my toys. Which will it be?" "Mommy." Rosie's voice, small and terrified, pierced through the chaos. "Listen to me," Lisa shouted, heart racing. "Think of the light. We have to believe in it. It can guide us out." Just then, the shadows convulsed and screamed, a chorus of lost souls wailing, as if objects left behind and forgotten were rising in a violent surge. Lisa could almost feel the cold echo of their regrets washing over her, a sensation that made her stomach churn. Suddenly, Rosie gasped, her eyes wide with something that glimmered between fear and recognition. "Mommy, the doll." Lisa's gaze flicked to the corner of the room where a single doll lay atop a dust-covered trunk. It was not like the rest, it was alive with a strange, glowing warmth that cut through the thick air. The doll's glass eyes sparkled, almost pleading for someone to reach out. "Rosie, grab my hand," Lisa commanded. They ran toward the doll, weaving through the writhing shadows that lashed out at them, biting and clawing. She could feel their icy breath brushing against her skin, raising goosebumps of terror. As they reached the doll, the shadows howled in protest, flailing wildly. The room trembled, shifting like a living entity. "You're choosing. You're deciding." The Keeper howled, its voice a distorted echo, dripping with wrath. Gripping the doll tightly, Rosie's whispers became frantic prayers. Each curse the keeper hurled at them felt like nails on a chalkboard, each scream a direct assault on Lisa's resolve. But as Rosie gazed into the doll's eyes, her fear began to flicker like the candlelight, contrasting against the encroaching darkness. With the doll in hand, a spark ignited in Lisa's heart, a surge of warmth pulsed through her veins, rapidly pushing the shadows away. Now, together. Hold on tight. She yelled, pulling Rosie close. The doll's glow intensified, illuminating the sprawling shadows that writhed and recoiled. Rosie squeezed her eyes shut, her breath hitching in disbelief as she felt the warmth embracing them, like a protective cocoon wrapping them in comfort. With one swift motion, Lisa raised the doll high, and a blinding light erupted from it, peeling back the darkness. It wasn't just illumination, it was a revelation. Memories washed over them, snippets about loss, love, pain, and laughter, each weaving a deeper connection to what had once been here, housed among these forgotten walls. The keeper howled, its visage twisting with rage and disbelief. "What have you done?" It roared, dissipating into the shadows, which began to recede like a tide frightened by the dawn. But the path ahead remained murky. As the walls began to brighten, revealing their cracked and aged surfaces, Lisa felt the pull of something dark lingering just beyond where the light had reached. "Mommy, what is that?" Rosie pointed slowly, her voice trembling. A door materialized from the shadows, an unfamiliar glow spilling from the space beyond. It pulsated with a gravity that almost dared them to step closer. "What if it's a trap?" Lisa whispered, but even the words tasted of doubt. "Or a way out?" Rosie said softly, eyes wide like saucers, unsettled yet yearning for the truth lurking on the other side. Lisa hesitated, fear grappling with hope. What waited behind that door? Another horror, or their salvation? With Rosie's hand still firmly in her grasp, she took a step forward, drawn by the promise of what lay beyond, but the keeper's laughter echoed once more, promising that the worst was yet to come. What had they truly unleashed? What fate had they courted? Each beat of her heart thrummed with dread. They had to choose urgently and be ready to face the shadows creeping towards them once again. The door lurked before them, its surface warped and rippling like the waves of a dark sea. It beckoned, crackling with an energy that pulled at Lisa's very core. She sensed the weight of unseen eyes from the shadows, longing to ensnare them both, waiting for just a moment of indecision. "Mommy, we have to go." Rosie's voice trembled, urgency seeping through her words. "What if we miss our chance?" Clenching her teeth, Lisa forced herself to step closer, each movement punctuated by the oppressive chill that swirled around them. Shadows whispered secrets she dared not decipher, the very air thickened with dread. She could almost feel the keeper's gnash, lurking, wanting to drag them back into its web. They paused for a breath, the world feeling suspended, each heartbeat echoing louder in the void. Sweat trickled down Lisa's back, and Rosie's tiny fingers squeezed tighter around hers. "What if it's worse?" Lisa murmured, caught between the fear of the unknown and the echoes of despair that came with inaction. "Better than this," Rosie said, her spirit flickering like a candle against the encroaching darkness. With a deep breath, Lisa nodded, steeling herself as she pushed the door open. It creaked like a dying animal, its sound slicing through the air as if protesting their intrusion. Inside was a chamber pulsating with a sickly yellow glow. The walls groaned, seeming to breathe alongside her. Old pictures hung crookedly like forgotten children, their eyes hollow yet eerily aware. Each glance at them stirred her insides, stirring a memory of laughter, something precious and impossible to find in the clutches of despair. Rosie's voice pierced the foreboding atmosphere. "Look!" She pointed toward the far wall where rusted chains hung, glinting malevolently in the dim light, the unmistakable signs of confinement. Lisa's stomach twisted. What were these for? She whispered, dread pooling in her chest. As if summoned by their intrusion, the atmosphere thickened, dark forms slithering closer. The keeper's voice slithered through the air, resonating from the walls. "Welcome to my playground. You dared to enter, but now you must choose. What do you want?" Lisa shouted against the wall of shadows encroaching upon them, frustration and fear intertwining like twisted vines. "To see you play," the keeper said, its laughter filling the room, mocking and chilling. "Pick a room and discover your fate. One leads to your bliss, the others, to despair." Lisa's heart thundered. The fear of the unknown clawed at her, but a flicker of resolve burned deep within. "We won to let you win," she cried, gripping Rosie's hand tighter. "It's a game. And you're losing," the keeper taunted. The shadows closed in, their whispers around them now like a hive of gnawing insects. In the chamber, 3 doors stood before them, a charred black door on the left, one painted a sickly green in the center, and the last, a pristine white that glowed faintly. Each door throbbed with a different energy, promising mystery and potential horror. "Which one do we pick?" Rosie asked, eyes darting between the choices, her breath quickening. Lisa felt the weight of the decision pinning her down. "We must choose wisely," she said slowly, panic bubbling beneath her calm facade. Just then, a loud crash reverberated through the chamber. The shadows began to scream, a chorus of anguish that seemed to mirror her own rising terror. The keeper's laughter turned into howls, creating a cacophony that vibrated within her bones. "They're coming!" Rosie shrieked, her tiny voice laced with panic. Shadows darted toward them, fingers stretching and grasping, eager to pull them back into the nightmare. With no time left, Lisa stepped forward, shouting, "We take the white door." As she yanked at Rosie's hand, willing faith to guide them. But as they inched closer, the darkness erupted violently, filling the room with a blinding black wave that crashed against them, a horror-filled crescendo that would not be ignored. The walls screamed, and a new madness began to unfold. Just as they were about to grasp the handle, the ground below them trembled violently, and a crack opened up, revealing a darkness deeper than they had feared. "Jump!" Lisa yelled, forcing Rosie forward just as the shadows closed in around them. Would they dive into the unknown or succumb to despair? As they leapt, the shadows clawed at them, their icy breath stinging, and the keeper's laughter crescendoed, promising torment. They fell. Where they landed was even darker, and the screams of the lost echoed all around them. What had they entered? What darkness awaited them now? They could only hope this was still a path toward salvation, or perhaps it was a descent into something far worse than before. With a heavy thud, Lisa and Rosie landed on a hard surface. The darkness enveloped them like an oppressive blanket, suffocating their hope and constricting the air in their lungs. Voices echoed all around, soft whispers that toyed with their fears, drifting through the shadows as if feeding off their anguish. "Welcome home," they hissed, a dissonant melody that rang eerily familiar. "Mommy?" Rosie trembled, her tiny hand still clasped tightly in Lisa's. There was a flicker of warmth against her palm, the memory of the doll they clung to still glowing softly. "Where are we?" Lisa swallowed, heart racing as panic surged through her body. "I don't know, sweetheart, but we have to stay strong." Clutching Rosie tightly, she cautiously stood, scanning the blackness, trying to catch a glimpse of anything solid. The fear wrapped around her like a vice, but the light pulsing from the doll seemed to guide them, a beacon cutting through the overwhelming gloom. "Follow the light," she urged, and they pressed forward, feeling their way over cold concrete. "Do you think we'll see Mr. Green again?" Rosie asked, her naive curiosity peeking through the thick veil of fear suffusing the air. Lisa flinched at the mention of the name. "No, Rosie, we have to forget him. He's not a friend," she said, determination swirling within her. "He will not keep us safe." The whispers encroached, and the shadows flickered in response. "But you are mine," a voice crooned, laced with sweetness that sent shivers down her spine. "You opened the door. You chose this." Breathing deeply, Lisa pressed on, her spirit aflame with fierce protectiveness. Not this time, she said defiantly. They moved, guided by the ever-brightening glow of the doll, dragging them further into the murky unknown. The cacophony crescendoed again as they stumbled into an expansive room, dimly lit by strange lights dancing along the walls. Images of joy and despair flitted by, showing fleeting glimpses of lives intertwined with laughter and loss. A heartbreaking beauty wrapped around the soul, making every individual figure pulse with a tinge of pain. "Mommy, are these the people the keeper was talking about?" Rosie asked, wide-eyed. Lisa's breath hitched. "Their memories, sweetie," she whispered, a wave of compassion swelling within her. "We need to honor what they've been through." It was a revelation igniting in the pit of her stomach. These weren't enemies, they were victims, just like them. People lost in darkness, craving liberation. Together, we can help them. "Mommy? How?" Rosie breathed, those innocent eyes searching Lisa's, filled with trust and fear. "By choosing love over fear. By believing we can help." With newfound determination coursing through her veins, she held the doll high, its glow pulsing stronger now. "We break the keeper's hold." As if in response, the shadows roared, the keeper's laughter tangling into the air around them, threatening to drown them in despair. "You think you can help them?" The keeper taunted, impervious to their resolve. "They belong to me, just as you do." "No. Our lives are not yours to claim," Lisa shouted, raising the doll even higher. "We will shine, not be reduced to mere shadows of what you want." The darkness seemed to shrink back, opposition swirling like a storm but faltering against the light primed to expand. Lisa felt Rosie's energy ignite beside her, shining in unity as their belief swelled. "Lisa." The keeper's voice twisted around them, now tangled and chaotic. "You can't save them. You will be lost, as I am." With a sudden surge of power, Lisa tightened her grip on the doll, channeling every ounce of her purpose. As she commanded, "Join us. Fight against him together." The pulsing light erupted forward, illuminating the chamber and revealing a pathway, winding through the remnants of lost souls. The spirits flickered, responding to the light, their forms growing solid as they began to join in the chorus of escape. Laughter and tears blended into a symphony that pushed against despair. Lisa could see hope dance in their eyes, their choice to embrace freedom magnified by the love of a mother and child. Storming through the radiant glow, nostalgia and yearning fused together into an overwhelming wave. The cries became a crescendo of passion, breaking through the keeper's shroud of darkness, surging toward the door that seemed ever closer. "Mommy! We're almost there!" Rosie shouted, excitement bubbling forth like a fountain of joy, a breath of life amidst the chaos closing in. "Keep going. Together." They sprinted forward, the spirits rallying around them, creating a protective force, a tidal wave of bravery sweeping away despair. The taunts of the keeper faded into nothingness, replaced by the sound of hope rushing through the air like a gust of wind carrying them along. Then, they reached the door, the threshold between darkness and freedom. Together, in a sacred bond of unity, Lisa and Rosie pushed against it. With a deafening crack, light spilled forth, washing them in warmth. The keeper's shriek dissolved into echoes, a fading whisper as they dashed through the doorway, hearts pounding anew with the exhilaration of life. Bright light enveloped them, illuminating everything, every shadow scattered, revealing a world renewed. They collapsed in a rush of laughter and tears, held by sunlight freed from the clutches of night. "Mommy, we did it!" Rosie beamed, glancing up with a face glowing like the sun. "Yes, my love. We did." Lisa's heart expanded, relief washing through her. This was their moment, unclaimed by fear, embraced by love. They were alive, a family bathed in light. And as the sun set over Oakwood, casting long shadows behind them, Lisa understood, together, they were unstoppable. Darkness would always linger, whispering its temptations. But now, they held a light that would never fade, the tenacious flame born from trust and love. Their journey together, fueled by resilience, was ultimately one of transformation. They had conquered not just the Keeper but their own fears. Through unity, they would face whatever came next, together. As they took their first steps toward the horizon, Lisa felt the wind at her back, urging them onwards. And she knew in her heart, this was just the beginning. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with all your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the light together.